Hi viewers, and welcome to the channel, and I'm just answering a few questions that's been put on my channel regarding sketching. We're going to jump into the sketcher, and this isn't going to be a full beginner's tutorial of actually how to sketch. It's just a tips and tricks. So I'm going to come in and create a new sketch. I'm going to just do it on the XY plane. The tools that I want you to focus on is over here. Now we've got a number of items as we go down, a number of little windows on the left hand side, and these are quite important, and people I've been working with, I've noticed they actually dismiss these. Now if you look at my tutorials on YouTube, you'll find that I don't fully constrain my sketches, and there's a reason why I do that. Is that if I start fully constraining the sketches while I'm showing you how to do something, then it's going to take a lot longer. My videos are focused on basically getting the job done as quickly as possible. It's worth spending some time to actually fully constrain your sketches and dealing with problems in there, because you get a model that's fixed and not floating about. So if you have a number of sketches that rely upon each other in a big construction, moving one will jolt the rest, will cause errors, causes sketches to break down and causes problems. We're going to first look at some sketches, and we're going to start with a normal square. So I'm going to start with a normal square, and we're going to understand how to constrain a normal square. So at the moment we've got this square here, and it's put some auto constraints already on there, so you can see the vertical and horizontal auto constraints here. If you look on the left hand side, come down to constraints, you can see we've got 4 constraints, which are these here, these constraints here, coincident constraints, and you can see those around here. So the first one selected, if you click on them, you can see them highlighted in green as you move around. So you can see those constraints in green. We've also got 2 horizontal and 2 vertical constraints, and as you click on them, you can see them appear on here. Now you can get rid of these by hitting delete key on here, and that will remove them from here. Or you can come over, I'm just going to hit the escape key or pressing the right mouse button to get my pointer back and select that constraint. You've seen the selected here, so you've got 2-way here. Select this one, it will turn green. Select this one, it will turn blue and highlighted over here. Just going to hit delete, and that one delete. So my sketch now, if I come up to the top, you can see it's got 8 degrees of freedom. If I click on the 8 degrees, it will highlight those points in green. So I've highlighted all 4 points along here. Why is there 8? Because these can move up, and they can move across as well. So along the vertical and horizontal. If I pull this out into some kind of odd shape, like so, we can start seeing these degrees of freedom reduced. So I want this as a equal square. So I'm going to click on this constraint and add a vertical constraint. You can see we've gone down to 7. I'm going to do the same with this one as well. Vertical constraint, that's gone down to 6. Remember, you can pick 2 lines like so and add the constraint. Now constrain both of them at the same time. That saves you some time. Also, if you hover over these constraints, you've got the shortcut key at the end. If you look at the end in brackets, so you can use H there or V there. That saves you some time as well. So we've got 4 degrees of freedom now. So if I click those, they've still been highlighted, but we've only constrained these lines. So we've still got problems with right and up. Now what we can do is we can lock this down. So if we had a square, one way to constrain these is that all sides are equal. So I'm going to put 50 millimeters. Now you would have thought that you would have to do all of these, so 50 millimeters along here as well. And we've now got a square. But we can reduce these down, and if I remove this one, and because the square's got equal sides, then we can take this one and make them equals. You get this equality constraint here, and if you hover over it, you see it's flashing up the top, so here, and if you click it, it's green. So if we move this up, you can see it there, and we can delete that if we so desire by just hitting delete. So that means that we reduced the amount of constraints we have and placed in the quality constraint. These are called datum constraints. That means you've added data to those constraints, a datum. Come down and you can see these constraints are being built up here. So the ones I've selected at the moment have appeared in here. So I've selected the 50mm width on there, and also the equality is selected. So I'm going to just click on that again, and that's unselected it from there. It's a good idea also to use your filters in here. So if I click on datums, you can see that 50mm is selected there, and it's constrained it. We've constrained our constraints. We filtered our constraints to the ones that are there. So when you click on it, it's highlighting green. When it's unselected, it's highlighted in red. Colors play an important part when you're sketching. You'll see the colors change as you're sketching, and that's quite important. So I'm just going to go for all to show them all at the moment. Come down to here, you can see the constraints, and then we've got elements, and these are the elements in here. And if we roll over them, if you look to the right, you can see them highlighting as we go over these. So there's line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. And though this is a square, it's always made up of lines, because if we moved these constraints, it will move both these lines. If we remove them, then this will break this up into lines. So for instance, if I make a new one over here, you can see we've got a number of lines that appeared, and they've got a number of constraints on them. So I'm going to hit escape, get the mouse pointer back, and we'll click on that constraint there. I'm going to hit delete. That would have removed one of those constraints from here, and sorry, one of the constraints from up here. We've got constraints in here. And what's happened is that when we pull these apart, you can see we're pulling these apart now. That's a line. So this is made up of a number of lines. If we want them back together, then we just click both of those and click the coincidence constraint there, and it puts them back in. And click and drag, highlighted those. So we highlighted all of those. They're all in green, and delete. And you can come in here, and as we highlight, if you hold down Control, then we can highlight multiple constraints in there as well. The same with the lines. So here, if I'm trying to find a line, I can highlight those lines here. Now, it's worth putting the extended name in on here, because you see the extended name, and this is important when it comes to referencing geometry outside of this sketch. But we're going to go back first to this now. So this is known as a floating. It's not fully constrained. It's best practice is to have it fully constrained, because going back to what we were saying before, if you have reference geometry to this one, if we start moving stuff about, then we can get breakages throughout that. So I'm going to fully constrain this now, and we need to constrain to basically the center point. So this is a fixed point in the center. If we constrained to this horizontal axis, we'll fix a point onto an object constraint like so. That fixes it upon there. And then if we fix this one to there as well, you can see that's turned orange. Now the reason why it's turned orange is it's known as overconstrained. So if we look at here, you've got sketch contains redundant constraints. Click to select. Now if you click to select, you can see this one here has turned green. And if we come down, and look at our constraints, you can see constraint 12 is highlighted. If we hit delete, that will remove that. The reason why it's overconstrained is because there's no point in placing a constraint on this point here and a horizontal constraint and constraining this one here. Let's just do that. If you think about it, if you had a bike that was locked to a lamppost and then you put a load of police officers around that bike as well, there's no point in having that bike locked to that lamppost because the police officers are going to stop anybody stealing your bike. It's over-constrained that bike. So all you need is one of those constraints. Either you need the lock on your bike or the police officers. The same with CAD. In that you have constraints here that have constrained it to that line, but you've also got a horizontal constraint. That line is horizontal, so there's no point in having either this constraint here or this horizontal constraint. So we delete that, and now that is free to move, and its constraints, that horizontal is constrained. So we're trying to fully constrain this, so I'm going to take this off this line because no point in having it on this line to fully constrain it, because we can't constrain it fully to that line. Now fully constrained means it can't move. I'm going to place a horizontal constraint on this at the moment because at the moment that can move like so. So let's make sure I've only got one selected, place a horizontal constraint on there, and we'll come up. So our degrees of freedom is 2. So that means it can move right, left, up and down. In other words, vertically and horizontally, 2 degrees of freedom. Now to lock this down, I can take that point and place that point here. And we use a coincident constraint there. That is fully constrained. It's gone green, so it's fully constrained sketch. But the trouble is that we have constrained that to that point there. Now, this may be fine for what you want to use it for, but you need to think about if you're going to start rotating this object, if you're going to start animating this object, you're going to have to think about center of rotations. Now we can rotate this through any axis point, if we so desire, through the draft workbench. So if I close this, and I'm going to add a pad to this, go over to the part, and I'm going to extrude this out. Okay, so we've got this here. If I come over to the extrude and right click transform, you can see our center of rotation is at that point, and that conforms to that sketch, that center of rotation there. If we took that constraint off, which we placed on here, so I've clicked on it here, and come down, it was the last constraint we had, this one here. I'm just going to delete that and move this to about, let's say over here. So if I was sketching this over here, it's not fully constrained. If I wanted to fully constrain it, I can use that point and put a horizontal and also that point vertical. That's gone green now, so it's fully constrained, but we constrained it off the center, so our center of rotation will change. So come to the extrude, transform, you can see our center of rotation is here and it rotates around that point. So if we want it in the middle, what do? Well, we come into the sketch and get rid of these, and this is quite a nice little trick. We want to place this in the center here. There's 2 ways of doing this. There's a hard way and an easy way. The hard way is to take these 2 lines and halve them and place some construction geometry in here, or take this one and this one. I've forgotten what size this is. What size is this? This is 50 millimeters. Let's cancel that. So take this one and this one and place 25, and then do the same with the other one. But that's the long way around. That's a long way around to actually constrain it. The best way, now we've lost some equality somewhere. Have we? No, we haven't. No, we haven't. That's fine. Yeah. So the best way is to take this point, this point, this point here, and use the symmetry constraint. So we've selected the corners, use the symmetry, and that places it in the center, and close that. Now when we come to extrude, transform, our center is there. If we wanted it into the center, then we're looking at how we've extruded that object. So if I was looking at this object, if I deleted that extrude and come into the sketch and created another extrude on that, so let's have a look, come down, got this symmetrical extrude here, click that, and then create the extrude. When I transform that now, you'll see that that is now in the center. So if we come around, it's hard to see actually. Let's click left. There we go. You can see that's in the center there of that object. But again, as I said, we don't have to worry about if we're moving this about in 3D space. When we come to animations, it starts to cause a bit of an issue because we need a center point to rotate. But if we just rotate in 3D space, we can come around to the draft workbench, and you can see how that plane, this section of that through the center there. So if I wanted to rotate it around this face here, this one here, what I can do is come in and I need to change the way this plane is intersecting this. And this is important, otherwise we'll get some obscure rotation. So I can select that plane there, and we've got this auto here, and it's also available on select plane, this one here. Click on that, and because I selected that plane, it's gone to custom. And you can see how that gridding has sat on that plane there. So if we wanted to transform this, we can select the extrude, come over to either the move object, select the center and move it like so. So that's moved it along that plane. And we're looking at it's actually going a bit off topic here. So I've got this, unlock that. We've got these here. I've got the center one selected here, this snap to center. We can move that about from there. And we can rotate as well. So first select the extrude, click the rotate, and we can click the center there, or we can use the point one there. So I've got center and point, so I can either go center and the points there, and we'll just rotate that over that point like so. But that's going off piece there. Let's go back to our sketcher, and I'm just going to delete that extrude. Also, I don't want to see the gridding, so let's go back to the draft workbench and turn the gridding off. And the sketch is invisible, so I'm going to click on the sketch, press the spacebar, and bring that sketch back. Let's jump back in there. So we've got a fully constrained sketch. So orange is overly constrained, as we were saying. Green is fully constrained. Now, get rid of this. Just delete that. So I've deleted one side. You can see that it's built up with lines. This won't extrude because it's known as an open sketch. We haven't closed the sketch up. Let's come back into the sketcher. There we go. I'm back in the sketcher. So if I try to extrude this, we've got an opening there. That won't extrude. We'll get an error. And we can see that over in the part. And trying to extrude that. Okay, well, it's allowed us to extrude it, but it's only extrude the edges there. If this was in part design, we would actually get an error. So over in the part design, two different ways of building models. And we'll need a body for that along the XY plane. And that should automatically put the sketch in there. Try to extrude that with the pad. It's disappeared. We've got a problem. Okay, that it failed to validate broken face. That means that it can't create an object from that because one of the faces is broken because we've got an open edge. Can't create a face with an open edge. Cancel that. Come into the sketch and we can close this up. Now it's important to understand if we try to close this up, and I've got the auto constraints on, that's another thing, is that I've got the auto constraints on here. That means that when I roll over you can see the constraint is coming in there. If I try to close this up with a point on object constraint, you can see it's got the curve there, and it's this one here, fix a point on an object. If we try to close this up like so, and if we accidentally, because we're supposed to be closing up on this point, and we'll bring this up, so let's say that's point on point there, but it's not actually point on point, it is point on here. So if we open this up, this is still a broken sketch because I know it's sitting on those points. It's quite easy to do. You might miss those and get a point on object constraint. When we come out of here, oh, looks good. The minute we go to do that, we can see that's disappeared and we've got a broken face. But well, how do you find this? I've quickly created a sketch to demonstrate this problem. So inside this sketch there's an edge that has a constraint that's broken. If I try to pad this, it will disappear and we get this error message. Failed to validate, broken face. Let's cancel out of here and go to the sketcher. So I'm in the sketch Workbench and I'm going to select the sketch, and there's a tool in here to find those problems. So if we go to sketch and validate sketch, we're looking for highlight open vertices. Click that and you can see something's changed here. We've got this little change that's just in here. And you can see I've got a problem there. So that there, if I zoom right in, you can see there's two crosshairs there showing the problem. If I try to find it in the sketch, then you can see it's basically all over the place. I've done this on purpose to make it more complicated to find it. We've got all of these all over the place. We've got a number of datum and equality and horizontal and vertical constraints in here. And it's kind of hard to see where everything is. You can see parts of it are fully constrained. The green is fully constrained and the white isn't. But we can't find, if we didn't use this tool, the sketch, validate sketch, and highlight open vertices, we wouldn't have a clue where that is. So we can see it's in here. So we go into the sketch and come in here. We can see right there, there's the problem. So this line, it doesn't touch there. It's not connected. And if we even take this line and connected it to, let's bring this up, and we've got to get it in place because I've got a lot of constraints that are acting against it. If I took this and connected it to this line with a point onto an object constraint, then we still got a problem because I'll come in and try to pad this or validate the sketch again, highlight open vertices, then we still got a problem there. You can see we've got a problem because they're still open. Although we've attached it to that line, we've just done a point on line constraint, and that's not going to close that. That's not going to connect that up properly. So we're just going to delete that constraint and click these 2 points and add this create coincident constraint on there. Everything now has turned green. So when we run that test again, sketch, validate sketch, you can see everything's fine. Let's close that, and if we go back to our part design and try to pad it, you can see it pads fine. So one thing worth knowing about is the different colors for the constraints. So we've got this constraint up here, we've got an equality across here. I'm going to remove the equality. So it's not fully constrained now. And I'm going to place a height on here, which is 50 millimeters. Now this little button at the end, that's a function button. Now that allows you to open up a formula editor and do things in there like 50 millimeters divided by 2. So you get 25 millimeters there. Okay, that, and okay. So you can see that's changed to orange. We can also, with that, if I take this one here and give it a name, so I'm going to call this top length. Okay, that. If I look down the left hand side and look in here, I've got one called top length. So if I filter by named now, I can see my named length, so that's quite handy to do. I can use that against this one. So come in, so I've got 50 millimeters divided by 2. If I type in here constraints and then use dot and type in top length, remember that the case will matter. So top length, it will change to 50 millimeters. And I can say divided by 2 if I so desire in there, or just reference that from there. So that's made a constraint that is a constraint that's connected to the other one. It's not referencing, because if you start using referencing, you get into this one down here, which is something totally different. So okay, that's gone orange there. So that one's in orange. And look at the datums. You can see the constraint 11 has got a little function by the side of it. So that's created a dependency on this constraint here. And you can see it's orange. This is good also if you have a spreadsheet. So you can introduce a spreadsheet in here from the spreadsheet workbench, and you can create a spreadsheet in here, and we can use the referencing from the spreadsheet to these sides. So you can actually increase and decrease the numbers in your spreadsheet, and they'll have a reference to here. So you can set those up. But I'm not going to go into that into this tutorial. So we've got those there. So we're now going to look at geometry that's been referenced from an external sketch. So I'm going to come out of here, and I've got the square here, and I'm going to create a new sketch. I've cleared all the constraints on the other one, and with this one you can actually reference the geometry from different planes as well. So we're just going to go for XY plane for this time being. And with this one I'm going to place a line. So just a single line, and I've got vertical constraints on here. I'm going to close this, and I'm going to come back into this sketch. So we've got two sketches. This sketch is external to this one, and I can import this, and this will turn purple. So what we can do is click on the create an edge link to external geometry, and we just hover over it, and it says down the bottom pre-selected unnamed.sketch001 edge 1. And if we go back to the model, we can see that the current sketch that we're editing is highlighted in yellow, and this one is sketch 001. So that will import that geometry there. That's imported in, and you can see that we've got a top and a bottom vertex and the edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to constrain this box to here. So first of all, I'm going to take these two, put them into equality, and also set a width on that box like so of 45 millimeters. And then I'm going to take this point. So at the moment we can move this about because it's constrained. All the sides are constrained to itself, but it's not actually constrained to the center point. So it's not fully constrained, but it's mobile. I'm going to take that point there, which I've highlighted in green. We'll click that, it's highlighted in green. I'm going to take that point, and we're going to use point and point constraint. That's in green, but it's not fully constrained. Although it says it's fully constrained, the other sketch, come out into this sketch, this one has 3 degrees of freedom. So it can go along the vertical, along the horizontal, So vertical, horizontal, and also it can be resized. So those are your 3 degrees of freedom. And if we move this, say, to this side, then this will also move to that side. So you can see we've got problems there in that, although we think it's constrained, it's in green. If you look at it, we haven't got any constraints going to that point there. There's no lock or block constraints on here. It's because this sketch here is mobile, and this can cause problems because you could have constraints linking onto these sketches, and just by nudging one of them, so the one that isn't constrained, could cause your whole geometry to collapse and your models to break. So just be wary of that. So that will highlight in purple. We also can get to that from different planes. So if I create another sketch along the YZ plane, you can see that sketch is sitting there, but now we're sketching along this way. This sketch, when I create a sketch in here, so if I created another square in here, you can see that that intersects that sketch because we just created on that plane there. We can still import this geometry, so clicking on the create an edge link to external geometry, import that, and what that does is projects it onto this sketch. So if we want this one the same width as this one, we can do that by clicking on the points there and bringing in the constraint, and same on the other side. So like so. And you can see that we've got this line here that's fully constrained. It's highlighted in green, and the others are highlighted in white, going around here. So we've got one side that's fully constrained and the others that aren't. But it's in line with this because we projected that edge along there. What I can do is come in, and if I click on this one, that one there, press the spacebar, can show and hide it. I can come into the placement, I can come into the position, and we're going to move it along the Z. Control R, you can see that that moves with it. Pressing just Control R to refresh, or we can just move and edit, refresh, but that will move into place when we come out of the sketch anyway. So you can see that will constrain to there. I'm just going to delete that sketch and delete this one and come back to this now. Now there's other types of geometry you can do. Again, going back to padding and extruding, if I place a line that's connected to here and use that to do a symmetry across, like so, then that's in symmetry on that line. And I'm just going to delete that point there and this point here. And we can move that now, so that's moving in symmetry with that line. This won't pad. If I got a line like this that I wanted to use to place this somewhere, so if I got a symmetry constraint or I'm connecting it to something, but using that really as something called construction, then when I come into the part design, create a body in there, XY plane, okay that, and our sketch is inside that. When I try to pad that, you can see it's saying creating a face from sketch failed. That's because we've got a piece of geometry in there that's not part of the sketch. So if you think about it, if I gave this to you and asked you, right, could you cut that out? That was on a piece of wood, and that's where this is the line you've got to cut around. What do you do with this piece? Do you do you just cut through it into here, or is this a slot? You can't leave this here, you can't cut round that because there's nothing there, it's just a line. So that's one thing you have to think about when creating geometry. When you look at it, if it's something like that, can you actually physically do it in the real world? So if I come into the sketch, and if I'm just using that as placement, so for instance, if I took this one and this one and did a height against that, and now I've got basically a handle, and we're going to fix the height on that handle as well. So this will move up and down, and if I fixed that to that point there with a length and a height, then that becomes fully constrained. But I need to be able to get rid of this, and this is where construction geometry comes in. So there is a icon on the toolbar that says toggle the toolbar or selected geometry to from construction mode. If I click that, that becomes blue. You can see it's gone light blue there, and that means that is constrained, and light blue means it's construction. When I come out, if I hit close, you can see that line is no longer there, and I can pad that. And all it's used is just used for scaffolding. You can see it if we come back to our pad, go into the sketch. You can see it when we do something like a hexagon in there, known as a regular polygon. You can see this circle around there. That is construction geometry. It's just to help contain that sketch in that construction mode. You can see the pad has gone into error, and that's because you can't have a second piece of geometry like that. So this has to be connected with this one. So we're just going to get rid of that one. Hit delete. Other things to be wary of, I'm just going to close that and get rid of that sketch. Yep. And I'll click on that one. When we've got these auto constraints on, so let's come down to our auto constraints. This is off at the moment. So if I try to create a line, you can see we've got no constraints happening. So I want to place this one on here, and that hasn't been placed on there. Click the auto constraint, and this time when we do it, we can see red lines coming up saying that's, you can see where the pointer is, and to the right the red lines coming up, so that's the auto constraint kicking in saying it's horizontal constraint. There it's a vertical constraint, it's constrained into that line. So this helps save a lot of time. Problem being is that you can get yourself into a bit of a pickle when you start coming in and bringing this in and working quickly, because you'll sometimes come in and accidentally constrain to that line there, and you'll be working away, not see this constraint that's come in here. Let's get rid of the rest so it doesn't confuse people. I've just got rid of that constraint, so let's just try that again. So we'll come in and we're working quickly, and we come in and we come in and we accidentally touch that line, place that down, and it's like, well, that's not where I put it. And if this is quite a cluttered sketch, you may not see this constraint come in. So just be wary when you're doing this, because sometimes you can create geometry and all of a sudden you create one piece of geometry and the geometry you create has become over-constrained. And you're looking at the geometry and going, well, why is it over-constrained? And that's because you've touched one of these lines or even another piece of geometry, like so. So the auto constraint is kicked in, and I'm placing a constraint that to there, and I've touched this line here, and I've gone great. So I'll move this over there. Why is this line moving? And that's because I touched that line when I dropped, and we've got this auto constraint on there. So be wary, just be mindful of where you place your pointer and what's happening with the pointer. Always keep your eyes open. The other thing is, at the end of the day, if you can work and not constrain, and you're happy in working in that environment, and you're not creating errors for yourself, it's not a 100% rule that you have to fully constrain something. It's best practices. It gets you out of problems. You don't have to do it. It's advisable to do it because a lot of problems will be fixed by you constraining properly and then having those constrained sketches. There's little shortcuts around. If you're doing animation and you got your center point in the wrong place and you haven't created the right center point here and you're trying to do your animations, you can create another object in here and create it as a composite object, and that center point will be that last object you placed in position. You can rotate around that. It is best practice to constrain your sketches down, but at the end of the day, it's your world. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. If you're working with speed and you just want something quick, it's totally up to you. I hope that's helped, and I'll see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my site. And also I have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate a few pence or a few pounds, dollars, or whatever your currency is. And that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. And there you'll be able to help me fund my site, and all the money that I actually get from any funds will actually get pushed back into the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. I'll see you next time.